Yo, yo, everybody, what's up? It is your friendly neighborhood physical therapist, Dr. Ryan Welting, coming to you from just outside the Tampa Bay area. If you are new to following me, I got a clinic, chronic, chronic pain clinic. So I call it the Failed Everything Clinic. A lot of my patients come in, they're like, "I failed everything. Nobody knows what's wrong with me." I've learned to get exceptional results in that patient population. I have um, I have published statistically historic papers in readership, and you can look on my social media channels, all of them, Welton Methods. I pinned it right to the top. Should be there. Upload it to ChatGPT and ask them about the readership. 3 to 5 years after publication, they're still getting multiple times, not just orthopedic journal articles, but all of medicine. So they're considered foundational landmark papers, is what AI says, with that readership, the analytics I got from the journal. So anyways, there's a link here to join my school group. Okay, join it, click the link, join. Okay, and I go much more in depth into the clinical as well as cash based business. Okay, and so click that link and join it. Okay, and then I also have a clinical mentorship program now where you get 59% off all of my courses, all of them, everything I do in here to get exceptional results and what I call the outfailed everything population. Um, I will pour all my knowledge into you, everything that led me to write these statistically historic papers. I will teach you everything that I know. Okay. So it's a no-brainer. I have weekly live teachings for the clinical mentorships with live Q&A. I also have a highly successful cash-based clinic um, in Florida here, which is very different, very different. Okay, it's based off results. Okay, based off of my clinical methods, actually. So I teach people how to cut and paste what I'm doing to their clinic, and one therapist generates a seven-figure in this business model. Not like I have three therapists and I got up to seven figures or whatever. Like this is a people that say that nobody will pay. Nobody will go out of network. People don't like to go out of network, right? Everybody says that, right? What I say to you is, yeah, for some diagnoses, right? But if when that in the failed everything clinic, right, where I treat basically SI joint, sacral torsion shear, plus some other things. But when I treat that all day long, I mean, these people are desperate for someone that knows what they're doing. They don't care. They'll pay anything, you know? They are had it with the medical system, okay? And they know that they got to go somewhere else outside of convention to, you know, to find somebody to help them, you know? So anyways, I teach a highly successful clinical and cash-based mentorship. I combine the two. It's a very unique program. And I show you, there's no sales techniques. I don't teach sales techniques. Most people aren't natural salespeople, and neither am I. And what I do is I teach how to relieve the person's pain in my clinic. When they come in, I relieve their pain, you know, and then show them how I did it and how we make it stay using my protocols. So anyways, it's really cool. I'm having fun teaching people how to open and run these things. But if you're stuck at like 10,000 a month or 15 and you want to get to 30, you know, like this clinic does that, does like 20K in a week, you know, on a consistent basis. So they post it in that group. Join the live school group, the school group below. Okay, I linked it. All right. Anyways, okay, let's talk about I call this a devastating issue, not clinically, psychologically, a devastating issue, and that is low back spasms. Okay, now when I rehab someone, I actually warn people about this in the beginning, because if you don't warn them about it, then when it happens, it's like, you hurt me, you know, blah, 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 right? And they don't understand. But I found as a PT or in business, that if you warn people about the possibilities when it happens, they're not mad at you. You warned them about it. you know? Actually put it on video form so they can't say I didn't say that, right? What happens to, to my patients when it happens? And I would say a good 10% or more during their rehab will spasm their back. Now, to a certain degree, okay? They say 9 out of 10 people statistically in their lifetime will have a back spasm, okay? I've had 2 of them, all right? Now, what I find is that if you check these people, use my SI, one of my historic papers, my SI paper that is on my website, weltonmethods.com. If you check these people, they all have an upslip, I find in my clinic, upslip, out flares bilaterally, and then tailbone twisted, just like I see in the chronic world all day long. Well, what happened is that their back went like this, like that. And the spasm locked down their SI joints and their sacral, and they rotated their sacrum, and then they can't stand up. This has happened to me twice in my lifetime. What was interesting is this. The first time it happened, around 2012, I was extraordinarily stressed because I was dealing with scam insurance and trying to make that whole thing work, which was like, people that can run those insurance clinics, God bless you, because that was keeping me up at night. I was so stressed with that when Obamacare came in. Now, what was interesting is it's actually changing my kid, who was an infant at the time. And I wasn't actually doing anything. I was just standing there. And what I did was I was just standing there. And the next thing you know, my back went like this, like that. And I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't move. It wrenched, right? So I call my wife. She comes over, make sure my kid doesn't fall off the changing table. And I hobble in bed for 3, I'm a physical therapist. For 3 days, I was in bed. And it took about 3 weeks to calm down. But for those 3 days, I sat there and I said, how did this happen? I'm a physical therapist. I didn't do anything. I was just making sure it didn't fall off the table. My son, like I wasn't actually doing anything. Like, how does your back do that, right? And then I had an epiphany that I was actually way more stressed than I usually was. So I had 3 kids that weren't sleeping, and then I was dealing with the scam insurance companies, who cut reimbursement, more than from $120 to $30 or something stupid. So anyways, so I realized that stress is a major driver of this. And a lot of times when it happens to my patients, I ask them, any more stress in your life? A lot of times they'll say yes. But like I just had a patient that I tell all my patients they need to rest during these rehabs, right? Because they end up doing certain things that jack them back up, throw them into a back spasm, right? And I just had a patient that she fell into the trap. She started feeling better. And the next thing you know, she's helping move things around the house. And the next thing you know, she's in a full-blown back spasm. And now when I checked her, she had an upslip, out flares, and her sacrum rotated. Now, this thing needs to calm down. I've tried every other way in the world when someone can't stand up from those acute back spasms, not chronic pain, acute back spasms. I just tell them, take it easy. It takes 1 to 3 weeks to calm down. Do not resume those exercises until this is not 99%, 100%. The reason why I say that is because when we resume it at 99%, then I've seen people go back into another back spasm, right? Okay, so the other reasons, most common reasons are, let's see. So I live in Florida, so people go to Disney World, right? When I hear someone goes to Disney World, is going to Disney World, I swear silently in my mind. And I'm like, because they're going to walk for hours and they're going to throw their back out. And it's a much higher incidence when people tell me they're doing that, okay? So walking for long periods of time, like going to Disney World, plane flights, high incidence of that I see in here. Sitting, long car rides, when I hear that, I'm like, oh, here we go, and housework, because it's an erratic motion. You're going like this, but I'm trying to stabilize your SI joints. Now, I also call November, December, the holiday season. I call it back spasm season. Because normally, I'll have in my given caseload, like 1 or 2 that are dealing with some level of a spasm, they exacerbated, or whether it be from stress or doing something. But in the holidays, there's a lot of cleaning, traveling, stress, financial stress, right? And I see a much higher incidence of it. Like, I think last year, like 30% of my patients were in a full-blown back spasm. Nothing different, just the holiday season came. And I tell them, I'm like, I call this season back spasm season. So now the thing when you're doing my SI protocol and sacral protocol with these patients is you have to warn them. If you don't warn them, when it happens, man, it's your fault. They don't understand what happened, and it's your fault. And then they quit. And when they quit, especially with mechanical back pain, that's our thing we should be fixing. And then I see them 15 years later in here, and they've had everything done to them, and nobody can figure out what's wrong with them type stories I see in here. It's literally crazy. But it could have been prevented if we just had warned the patient that this is a possibility. If it happens, we just let it calm down, okay? I put it on video, give them a handout so that, because people forget what you said, but I put it on video for them. Like, literally, you can't tell me that I didn't say that because it's in your phone on a video of all the possibilities that could happen, okay? So, but stress is a major driver of it. People have neck spasms when they're stressed. Well, people have back spasms when they're stressed too. It happened to me. And when I was stressed. So anyways, if you check these people that go into a spasm, check for the upslip, they got outflare, sacral rotation. You usually can't even get these people out of pain. And the reason why is because they're so acute. A lot of times I won't touch them, I'll just go, if it's bad enough, ask your doctor. My job is to get people off drugs, but ask your doctor for skeletal muscle relaxants, anti-inflammatories. They do serve a purpose in acute settings. And do not start those exercises up again until you're 100%, not 99% back to where you were. Okay? So back spasms can be devastating, not clinically, psychologically. Okay? Psychologically, they will quit on you. But if you warn them, they don't usually quit on you. Okay? All right? I am out. Join my school group for more in-depth teachings. Peace. Love you all.